So friends, I'm back in the kitchen today and I'm making some pot roast as well as some macaroni and cheese and some creamed spinach. Now I'm going to start off by saying that all of these recipes are on my website at plussizeinchicago.com, but I'm going to go through it really quickly on these videos so you can make it at home too. So I'm using some all-purpose seasoning as well as some black pepper, Italian seasoning, paprika, thyme, garlic powder, as well as some onion powder. Now, what I like to do is add some olive oil to this chuck roast because I want to use that as a binder for these seasonings. It just helps the seasonings to stay on there much easier. Now, as you saw from the beginning, I had a few of these seasonings that I'm going to be adding on there. I'm not going to show you all of those steps, but I just want to show you how I am sprinkling on there. I am not measuring these seasonings. I'm just using the great senses from my ancestors to know how many seasonings and how much of the seasonings I should add onto this chuck roast. So as you see, I do have like 2 separate pieces. This is like a total of 5 pounds. For some reason, chuck roast, I guess because of the fattiness, it does shrink down. Now, I am making this for the hubby and me, and this is going to be leftovers. We're going to have this for leftovers for at least 2 days. And then I'm also going to be using the leftovers of the pot roast into some chili that I'm going to make later on in the week. So I'm going to start off with my cast iron skillet, and I've added some olive oil, some butter, as well as some minced garlic. And as I get that melted together, I'm adding that chuck roast to that pan. I seared that for about 5 to 7 minutes on one side, and this is like on a medium heat, and then I'm going to sear it on the other side. And again, I have 2 pieces, so I'm going to add that the first chuck roast into like a nice deep dish. Now I'm getting my veggies together, so I have some celery that I am cutting up. I also do have some carrots that I had from a previous meal that I cooked earlier in the week. So I'm going to get that out the fridge, rinse it off, and add those veggies to the same bowl. Outside of the celery and the carrots, you can figure out like what veggies you want to add there. So I'm gonna also add some diced potatoes. You can also add some mushrooms. I'm also gonna be adding like some red onions. I don't know if there's really a difference between the red onions and the white onions or the Spanish onions. I think one is like a little bit more milder. But anyone who knows me, who watches my videos, knows that the hubby does not like onions. So I'm going to be slicing this like in big chunks, and any pieces of pot roast that I cook for him, I'm going to make sure that there's no onions in there. So yes, I am that wife that will move and pick out pieces of food that the hubby does not eat. So here's the red onions that I am slicing up. I'm going to put that in the same bowl. And then the next veggie that I'm going to be adding to this mixture will be some yellow potatoes. You can use red potatoes or russet potatoes, but I really like yellow potatoes. So I'm just going to dice those up into chunks and rinse those off and put them in the same bowl as the rest of the veggies. Now that that's done, I'm going to get my beef base and beef broth going for this meat. So what I do is take some of that beef base out. It's about 1 tablespoon, and I'm going to be adding like 1 cup of water. You can do 1 to 2 cups of water. It really depends on how big your pan is. The best thing really is to do like about 1 cup, but you just got to be careful just watching your pot roast as it's cooking because you don't want it to dry out. So I'm adding 2 cups of water here. I'm using the Dice measuring cup system. They actually sent those to me as a free product. If you want to check those out, you can check out the video description. I have a link to my Amazon influencer page where I have like a lot of products as well as cooking utensils, seasonings, all the things on my Amazon page. So you can click that link and you can find all that information there. So the next thing I'm adding is some W sauce. I'm not going to even try to say the name of this sauce, but I'm adding the W sauce to this mixture. And then the next thing that I'm going to do is add in some Lipton onion soup. Now, Lipton onion soup, again, you know, you got the onions going on, but I really like the flavor of the onions, as well as it's like a beef broth that's inside of that too, and a few other seasonings, but I just like the way it tastes. So I add that to this mixture. I'm going to stir that up. And then after that, I want to, you know, get back over to this pot roast. Remember, I had 2 pieces that I was searing about 5 to 7 minutes on each side. And then the next thing I'm going to do is prep this pan so that I can pour that mixture in there, and then I'm going to add my veggies in there. The oven, I have it preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to let this cook for like about 2.5 hours. Around 3 hours, that definitely will make this pot roast very nice and tender, but 2.5 hours is good too. So, you know, it's really up to you. 2.5 hours to 3 hours. Cook it in the oven for on 350 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a really nice slow cook. You can also do this in a slow cooker if you're like doing like 1 piece of meat, and just cook it on low for 6 to 8 hours if you have the patience for that. That's probably good, like if you want to just put it in the crock pot, you know, let it set while you're at work, or maybe you've gone to church and you come back and your pot roast is done. So yeah, so I have this recipe again on my website, and you just want to go to plussizeofchicago.com, where you can see all the ingredients and how long to cook it, and you know, all the things. So the next thing I'm doing is making the macaroni and cheese. Now, this macaroni and cheese is using a roux mixture, so I'm adding some butter, my seasonings, as well as some milk. I'm going to be using like some heavy cream as well as some milk to this. And that's just going to be the start of the roux. Now you can also add some flour. You can, if you use the whipping cream or heavy whipping cream, you don't technically need to have some flour. But if you're using milk like I am, I'm doing milk and cream, and that's just because of my stomach issues. You know, I'm lactose intolerant, so I use like 2% milk as well as heavy cream, and I just use a little bit of flour to get it just a little bit thick. So I'm also adding some cheddar cheese, so I've like hand shredded that, and I'm going to be adding like about 1.5 to 2 cups of cheese inside of that milk mixture. And then once the pasta is done, I'm going to add like another 1/2 cup of cheese on top of the pasta. So with the pasta, I'm using penne pasta this time instead of elbow macaroni. Now with penne pasta, it does take a little bit longer to cook, but whether I'm using penne pasta or elbow macaroni, you don't want to cook it all the way. You want to make sure it's al dente. So I've cooked this for like about 5 to 6 minutes, and then I've taken it out because it's going to finish cooking when it gets into the oven. Website, I do have 2 recipes for macaroni and cheese. One of the recipes, I'm making it this way, and it's called creamy homemade baked macaroni and cheese. The other recipe I have on my website for macaroni, it's called creamy mac and cheese, no roux, no eggs. So for those of you who don't like to have your macaroni and cheese with the flour or the roux base, this is the way to do it. Now, this recipe I'm doing right now, there's no egg in there too, but I know that some people do like to add eggs inside their macaroni and cheese. Now, the next thing I've done is, like I said, I'm putting like about 1/2 cup of cheese on there. I'm using this Mexican cheese because it just melts really, really nicely. So you can get like any type of Mexican cheese base to add on there, or just like a white cheese too. That will help also. It melts really, really good. Now, this macaroni and cheese, I have the oven preheated to 425 degrees. Yes, I do have that pot roast in there, but I've turned this up to 425 degrees because I'm going to add this macaroni and cheese. And it's only going to cook for about 15 minutes. And my macaroni and cheese will be ready, and I'll cut the oven back down to 350 so that that pot roast can continue cooking. So again, like I said, the recipe is online, and that's at plussizeinchicago.com. Now, while these things are cooking, the pot roast is cooking, the macaroni and cheese is cooking, now I am going over to my cream spinach. Now, cream spinach is definitely one of those meals where it's an acquired taste. Some people don't like the way cream spinach look, but hey, I like it. So as you can see, I had some olive oil in there, some butter, as well as some minced garlic. I have a bag of spinach. Now I put one bag in here, but technically I should have put 2 bags in here, because as I'm cooking this, the milk and the cream that I added in here, it was a little bit too much. So normally I would have used some frozen spinach, and I can kind of measure it a little bit better, but I ended up using fresh spinach, which is the best thing to do. But next time, instead of using 1 bag of spinach, I will use 2 bags. So you see, like, it's really, really liquidy. So I ended up having to pour some of that out. So if you're using fresh spinach, you want to use 2 bags, and I'll update my recipe on the website for that. Next thing that I'm doing is adding some Parmesan cheese. So you can use like the canned Parmesan cheese or a freshly grated Parmesan cheese, or like a container like I have right here of Parmesan cheese. So you want to simmer that. You also can add like some flour or some cornstarch to thicken up that sauce too, but I'll have the corrected recipe online. As you can see, after I poured some of that sauce out, it's looking much better. I'm topping this with some crushed red pepper flakes just to add a little heat to it, but that's definitely optional too. So here is the recipe, and that is the correct way to do it. And again, if you're using frozen or fresh spinach, I will have that part updated on the website. So yeah, so this is all that I had cooked, people. I hope that you like it. So we got our veggies here. This is the cream spinach. I also have that beautiful macaroni and cheese where I use some penne pasta just to make things a little bit different. And of course, I have my pot roast. That pot roast is a lot for 2 people, but we're going to be having that pot roast for a couple of days. I don't have to cook when I get off of work. And on the 3rd day, I'm going to be adding it to some chili, and I'll also link that recipe onto this video so you can see how that turned out too. So friends, if you're watching this on YouTube, TikTok, or Instagram, shout out to everyone who has subscribed to my channel, or maybe you're following me on one of those social media platforms. Thank you so much for coming back and cooking with me again. If you are new here, my name is Angela, and this is my account Plus Size in Chicago, where I make a lot of easy to cook comfort food meals. You'll also see me reviewing different restaurants in the greater Chicagoland area, or maybe showing you some places I ate while on vacation. Be sure to subscribe or follow me. Also leave a comment and share this video with your friends and family. I'll see you guys next time.